All right, we'll bring you that report by Ilyasu Tanko in a bit, but Ghana is fighting 2025 crimes with 1972 laws. That's the concern of Managing Director of the International Action Network on Small Arms, Johnson Asante-Twum. He is calling for urgent legal reforms to tackle rising crime as outdated firearm laws make it difficult to address modern security threats. Speaking at the Wansa Ghana evening encounter, he backed the new National Arms Commission bill, which aims to regulate gun ownership and track individuals in possession of firearms. He wants the Interior Ministry to act swiftly to strengthen firearm control and protect national security.
After 18 years of implementation of the Commission Act and 53 years of the Arms and Ammunition Act, it has become clear that there are gaps and loopholes. Now, how do you use 1962 law to fight a 2025 crime? So we have a law that is as old, but we have criminals who are as sophisticated and technically savvy in 2025. And we think that we will successfully fight that crime. So I'm coming down into why there is the need for a review. I worked at the commission, so I was part of those who worked on the law and those who attempted to implement the law for 13 years or so of my stay there. So I speak from informed position. So we are attempting to fight 2025 crimes with 1972. Let me be general and say 1972 because there was a review somewhere, amendments, not a review. There was an amendment in 1972. So you see how crime generally has evolved, but one would ask, is the age of the law enough to warrant its review? I dare say no. The age of the law alone is not enough. But if you look at how the law was couched, and how crime seems to have evolved, because this is a law that was to fight crime. And this criminality is also bordered on the changing nature of technology. So, yes, the age of the law alone will not be a justification. If you look at what it's intended to do and the tools and instruments it is supposed to regulate and control, which is changing so fast, then it tells you that the age of the law in this context matters.
Asante-Twum is urging the Ministry of Interior to act swiftly and pass the National Arms Commission bill to strengthen firearm control. He warns that the lack of proper regulation is not only fueling insecurity, but also costing the state huge losses.
New minister at the Ministry of Interior, and also just hearing that there is a new executive secretary. Of course, he has also been part of civil society activism to get the bill passed. We're hoping that they will expedite action and get this to the attention of cabinets now, and they will work on it. There are obvious benefits for reviewing the arms and ammunition laws. As I mentioned before, in the year 2020, in October, when the EU blacklisted Ghana on the anti-money laundering and terrorism financing issues of having weak legislation along that area, the Ghana Arms and Ammunition laws were one of the concerns that the EU raised, and the ministry then wrote to the commission at the time asking them to bring the bill for them to pass. Unfortunately, when EU lifted the ban, the ministry forgot about the bill, and things went back to normal. We are hoping that at this time, the commission and the new minister for the interior will work on it and expedite action and take it there. If it is properly regulated, the state could make more money. Not just more money at the expense of the lives of people, but more money whilst protecting the citizenry and protecting, our democracy and our economy.
All right, next, a major security breach at Sehwi Asafo police station. We're hearing in the western north region, suspected armed robbers have infiltrated the facility, making away with an AK47 rifle, ammunition, and other crucial police equipment. Reports indicate that the assailants scaled an iron-gated window late last night, broke into the armory, and looted various police property before fleeing. Authorities are investigating the daring heist, which raises serious concerns about security at police installations. Joining me on Zoom is Augustine Boa, regional correspondent. Tell us a bit more, Augustine. How did the robbers manage to breach security at the police station?
Sure, we were told that, according to the local reports, that this assailant or the suspect, they had, the layout of the police station. That helped them to scale into the armory, taking away AK-47 and then other ammunition from the armory.
What specific police equipment aside from the AK-47 and ammunition was stolen? Do you know?
Well, we're told that the suspect made away pepper spray, electric shocker, and other items, according to the local reports.
Has anyone been arrested in connection with this?
As I speak now, no arrest, has been made. But we understand that the inspector in charge has been interdicted pending investigation of the matter.
And do we know what the police is doing to prevent any such occurrence in future? I mean, what are they saying about security at the police station?
Currently, the number of personnel at Sehwi Asafo police station has been increased, and more men, have been deployed to the area to ensure there is proper calm in the area. Because speaking to the local people, particularly the assembly member for the area, Honorable Kwate, he indicated that the incident has created a little fear and panic in the residents.
All right, Augustine, well, thank you so much for the update. We'll come back to you if there are any more details. And hopefully in the course of the bulletin, we'll speak to a security analyst and analyze the implications. Thank you so much, Augustine, well, Western North correspondent. I appreciate the update. Well, to our top story this afternoon, fear has gripped residents of Kumasi in Walewale as military personnel enforcing a dawn to dusk curfew reportedly raided the home of a sub-chief, forcing many to flee. The reason for the military invasion remains unclear, but JoyNews' checks reveal significant destruction to property, with at least one pregnant woman left traumatized. Distressed residents are now calling on the government to lift the curfew. Here's a report by Ilyasu Tanko.
At about 5:45 Thursday evening, around 30 soldiers armed with rifles and 3 combat vehicles stormed Kumasi, a suburb of Walewale, and raided the private residence of a sub-chief. Abdul Matidi Mohammed is a tenant of the house the soldiers reportedly invaded.
I was in the house, inside my room, with some other 3 women. My wife, the landlord's wife, and one of their friends who came to visit them. So I was coming out with a friend who was outside here waiting for me. All of a sudden, some military men invaded.
The house was surrounded by the soldiers before some of them entered and started tearing down doors and windows and destroying properties in the rooms.
They did not even greet. They went ahead and asked me about whereabouts of my landlord. who happens to be a chief. I said, I don't know where he is. They broke all the keys to the rooms, had access to those rooms, broke the ceilings and everything. I think it was only this store, which is going to be a drugstore. That's the signboard over there. It was only that store that they didn't have access to.
As you can see, the destruction over there, this is the ceiling of the room that has, according to the residents here, was destroyed by the military men. They themselves climbed up onto the ceiling and caused this destruction you are just seeing. And not only this particular destruction that was caused by the military men. So this is another room, another destruction that we're just showing you. All these cooking utensils strewn around this veranda, as we understand, learning from the residents here, was caused by the military men. You can see that there's a chair. We understand the chair was cut open with a sharp object believed to be a knife. We do not know exactly what the military men were looking for. The military invasion has left widespread fears in the Walewale neighborhood and forced some residents to consider temporarily evacuating the area to live with family and friends in other areas in the West Mamprese municipal capital town. The situation has also slowed socio-economic activities in the area, as most residents have refused to operate their shops and local businesses. It is still unclear the reason for the military action, and JoyNews check revealed this was the fourth of such incidents to be recorded in the last 1 week since the government of President Mahama imposed a dawn to dusk curfew on Walewale, which the Member of Parliament, Dr. Tia Kabiru Mahama, described as politically motivated. The government announced a curfew on Walewale and about 5 localities along the Nasia-Bolaga Road, including Wulugu, following violent reprisals on Tamale-Bolaga Road against commercial vehicles belonging to certain individuals or heading to Boko. However, since the arrival of the security forces in Walewale, the once bustling, peaceful business town is being reduced to a besieged and isolated community filled with chaos, with daily reports of military brutalities and harassment. Some residents even suggested the soldiers were handpicked from a particular tribe and deployed in Walewale to target the residents without exceptions.
I was not happy. I was feeling so threatened because we were having a pregnant woman with us that like she almost urinated. Even on some of them who ran diarrhea by force because the way or manner they invaded us.
The overlord of Mampurugu has therefore admonished the government to either review or lift altogether the curfew, which he said was hurting socio-economic ventures and disrupting normal living in Walewale and its immediate environs.
His desire is that the curfew should be lifted as soon as possible because it is causing hardships among the people of Walewale and its environs. And to solve the injury, that there are vehicles which pass through the community during the curfew hours. And inhabitants of Walewale who happen to be in the vehicles are dropped in the middle of the town and asked to go home. It's alleged that when the security people see them, they give them the option of either paying to go home or get a beating if they fail to pay.
Ilyas Sutanko reporting from Walewale for JoyNews.
I will still stick with security matters and to one of our stories, top stories this afternoon, to do with suspected armed robbery at the Sehwi Asafo police station, where we understand that the robbers made away with Ak47 rifle as well as ammunition and other crucial police equipment. We heard from our reporter from the Western North region. We want to bring in security analyst Mumuni Mukhtar to analyze this. He is the executive director of the West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism. Thank you so much for joining us here on the JoyNews stream. So how significant is this security lapse and what does it say about police station safety here in Ghana?
Well, that's a very worrying situation, Daryl. And I think that it is something that should concern all of us. To the extent that you have reported, issues of, the theft through this break-in of high-grade, weapons and ammunition, it tells a lot about the lapses within even our own security setup. And the chances that these tools, these weapons, would be used to commit crimes is very, very high. It should be very, very worrying for us. And if you consider that this is not the first time we're having police stations targeted by criminals. If you remember, around 2020, we had a very shocking situation of a break-in into the Nima police station, and one of the officers, resulting in the theft of electronic equipment, including laptops and other equipment in there. A year before, we had break-ins into, police stations in Takrady, I think the Central Police Station, resulting in the theft of several equipment in there. These cases highlight the reality of security lapses even within our own police stations. And it's about time that we look into how we put in robust measures to secure police stations and other security installations. But more importantly, how do we build enough resilience against this sort of issues that are happening? And from where I sit, in terms of looking at the issues of violent extremism in the region, in many parts of the Sahel, the modus operandi of many of these terrorist groups is to break into police stations or attack police stations and armory and take charge of the content. And that's how they build their arsenal of weapons against the state. And then if we see things happening here within our own space, if we do not, stop this, the chances are that we would be veering towards that reality of putting up with, armed groups within the system who would be in the position to challenge the authority of state. And so that should worry all of us.
You have indicated that the fact that these robbers have stolen the AK47 rifles, other ammunition, is a cause for concern for public safety. And I'm sure that the police will start investigating. If you are the police, what would you be looking at?
Well, the first point of call is to, deal with the key officers in there, the officers in charge, the command in there, put together a strong team of investigators and give them timelines as soon as possible to ensure that they uncover the faces behind this. Sometimes we say that security measures are more important, more important than even the security incident. The measures are more important. So how we respond to it, it's everything. So we need to ensure that we uncover the faces as quickly as possible. But more importantly, how do we put in measures in place to be able to deal with situations or avoid situations like that? This brings to the issues of surveillance systems in all police stations around the country. If we have enough robust, comprehensive surveillance security systems at this police stations, it would significantly aid in terms of investigations and quickly uncover who the faces are behind this act.
Yeah, and so based on reporting from Augustine Bois, Western North reporter, they have boosted security presence at the police station. I guess that's the first wise step to take. But you make a point about improving the security, or improving security at our various police stations. What are the lapses and what do we need to fix, if you could elaborate?
So what we need to do is, security planning is a function of threat perception. And so you need to have all the possibilities in mind in terms of what are the possible ways in which security can be compromised at those physical installations, as well as virtual systems at those police stations. And once you're able to put together a comprehensive assessment of that, you put in measures to deal with that. Today, security is going in technology. Security is highly technology-driven. How do we ensure that we put in technology systems that allow us to detect even before a crime is committed fully? And so those things are the primary things you need to look at. Beyond that, the physical security presence is key. How is it that in spite of the presence of security officials, because in this particular break-in, there's evidence that there were security officials, at post, and yet they were overpowered, or they couldn't constitute enough deterrence for these, criminals to do what they did. And so you would want to ensure that you need to have enough security presence who would constitute enough deterrence against this sort of attack. Beyond that, you need to have robust surveillance systems that you can quickly resort to address or to apprehend criminals when things like this happen. And I think that we expect so much from the security itself, from the Ghana Police Service, the IGP and his team. There's a lot of goodwill and there's a lot of expectations. And so we need to be planning, taking advantage of this kind of situations and plan more robustly in all the security installations, all police stations around the country. There have been too much and too many promises of many state actors, politicians, and the Inspector General of Police about putting up surveillance systems in police stations, body cameras, and all that. We haven't seen enough of those, and it's about time that we commit to it.
All right, security analyst Mumuni Mukhtar, thank you so much for your time. Also, Executive Director of the West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism. Thank you for taking time off your weekend to speak with us. You're watching the Joy Newsroom. Now, President John Mahama, he has instructed the team tackling illegal mining, Galamsey, to seize excavators instead of burning them. Speaking after members of the Christian Council visited him at the Jubilee House, he said illegal miners have been flushed out from the Tanonimi forest with the operation targeting other affected forest reserves. He added that a mobile team is on standby to ensure that illegal miners do not return to the forest.
State of the nation is. And I believe that we must bring honesty in leadership and tell Ghanaians what the real situation is. I think that if Ghanaians understand what the situation is, they are willing to make the sacrifices to make things better for everybody. With regards to the issues you raised, Galamsey is a major headache for all of us. It's estimated that currently about 1.8 million of our compatriots are involved in small-scale mining. And that creates a big issue with regards to issues of employment and displacement, from small-scale mining. Small-scale mining is legal, and our laws recognize it. But it must be done in a responsible and sustainable manner. We have about 280 forest reserves in this country, and the ones that are affected are about 43. And so we did one operation in the Tanonimiri forest reserves, and we've gotten the excavators and things out. And so they're going to target another one, the worst ones, and then we'll take them one by one and get the people out. I've told them not to burn the excavators, they should confiscate them. We'll also have a mobile team so that in case they try to incurse again and the forestry people cannot handle, they'll call the mobile team to run in and go and give them reinforcement.
Well, in the Volta region, tidal waves continue to wreak havoc in coastal communities in the Ketu South municipality, putting thousands of lives and properties at risk. If urgent action is not taken, towns like Salakope, Agaveji, and Amuchinu could soon be completely cut off from major areas like Denu and Azizaji, as the distance between the main road and the sea is now less than 5 meters. JoyNews' Ivy Sotoji reports from the affected areas.
This is the frightening reality facing the people of Salakope, Agaveji, and Amuchinu. The sea continues to advance, washing away homes and properties, leaving residents stranded and uncertain about their future. For many residents, this is not just a one-time disaster, but an ongoing struggle that has persisted for years. They blame the government's failure to complete the Blekusu Sea Defense Project Phase 2, which was expected to provide long-term protection against coastal erosion.
I all got back to my chapo got back of what put the Yama, but Tom Yama de la Hoyam. The Parakama Linear, Amo, Amaro, the Palo Shiko, I'm not a Pamalo, Yoki, Mimira, at Yagoja, Guamia Jodoku. I fear Manon Imale. I feel upon a penny guard one, yeah, Chapova, a garamo. And I like any chon like Badodia, Chapova Dorama Ba. The Kata Lamazu, a Gabubu. I mean, Kuku no, about Winamila. The Kukura Banova Winami.
The sea has destroyed us. This is the sea and this is the road. You can see houses over here. Houses has been taken by the sea. So many things has been destroyed by the sea. We are pleading with the government to come to our rescue, to help us do the sea defense so that we can also have our life restored back.
Another major concern is the Denu-Keta Road, which is now dangerously close to being washed away. Residents warn that if this road collapses, several communities could be completely cut off, making transportation, business, and emergency services nearly impossible.
The immediate intervention will be the continuation of the prevention of the tidal waves. That is what we want him to do. The sea defense. He must act very quickly. Otherwise, as soon as the sea enters the lagoon, the sea is coming to a hole. I promise you. As soon as it enters the lagoon, it will extend to Ho, Agbozume, Joja, and all those places will no more be there. I know, I'm telling you. I study the sea, I know what the sea is.
For many residents here, this is not just a natural disaster, it is a fight for survival. The question remains, will the government act before these communities are completely wiped away? Ivy Satoji, JoyNews, Salakope.
Meanwhile, Chief Executive Officer of the Environmental Protection Authority, Professor Nanama Brown-Kluche, has called for urgency defense measures to protect residents of Agaveji, Salakope, and Amutunu from the relentless tidal wave distractions we have been reporting. Now, the recent disaster, as we've said, has left dozens homeless, ravaged sacred shrines, and shattered tombs. Now, assessing the extent of the devastation firsthand, Professor Kluche stressed the need for a permanent solution to safeguard lives, livelihoods, and property. Here's more.
Residents of Salakope, Agaveji, and Amutino have long suffered from relentless tidal waves distractions. This week's disaster among the West yet destroyed hundreds of homes, left scores homeless, and swept through cemeteries, exposing remains and toppling sacred shrines. Chief Fisherman of Salakope Landing Beach, Togbe Emmanuel Anum Tete, lamented not only the damage to homes, but also the severe impact on economic activities.
The sea is destroying all our houses. Secondly, due to the destroyal of the houses, we have the debris in the sea. The broken houses are in the sea. That could not enable us to go to sea anymore. We can't fish anymore. Because as soon as you send your net there, it will be entangled by the debris. It will tear in pieces. You have to go and borrow money to amend it. It continues day in and day out. Provided you come in the evening, you will see a lot of us sleeping along the street there. And some of us are sleeping in the church over there. Because we don't have any place to sleep, you see. And, the death toll in the community now is increasing very, very well because of starvation. Now, you can see some of Salakope people in Kita, some are in Aflau, some in Agbozume. They scatter all along.
Volta Regional Minister James Kuno, who was part of a delegation led by the Chief Executive of the Environmental Protection Authority, has directed utility services to take immediate action to assist the affected communities.
Even electricity is affected, so if these poles are cut off now Denu will be affected. They will not have electricity. Keta side here, they will not have electricity. So the electricity company of Ghana must also come in to do the assessment. Community water and sanitation, there is a cutoff. They don't have water. So the last time we brought sachet water to the community, it's not enough. They need shelter, temporary shelter. They need a psychologist. They need a medical care. So this is the time we need to show our love to the people of Agaveji and Salakope and Amuchinu.
After touring and engaging residents, EPA CEO Professor Ama Brankluche emphasized the need for a permanent and sustainable solution to the challenge.
What we think we have to do is provide a lasting solution by providing a more sustainable sea defense for the communities. We need to reclaim the land and provide the defense for the sea so that we can get back the land and get back the livelihood of the people.
Donating some relief items to victims, Professor Kluchi appealed to development partners to support in reclamation efforts.
Immediately, we're calling on our development partners, we're calling on government, and EPA will make sure we coordinate it, and as early as possible, as a matter of urgency, we come back here to do the dredging and then making sure that we do the defense as soon as possible. We're going to work at it.
Residents are, however, looking to the government for a lasting solution to the crisis. For JoyNews, Carlos Kaloni, Salakope.
We head next to the Ashanti region, where the Kumasi metropolis is grappling with a rising sanitation problem, with market centers engulfed in filth, leaving residents and traders deeply worried. The public concerns are contrary to claims from the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, KMA, that they are cleaning 90% of waste daily. A visit to the Central Business District and parts of the city exposed piles of garbage and litter, especially plastic waste. Here is a report by Irabna Kwe.
Thus, in the bustling city of Kumasi are facing a sanitation crisis, especially with the Central Business District of Kumasi being overwhelmed with filth.
Truth be told, the filth is immense and this could cause serious health problems. The streets and gutters are always dirty. We gather the refuse for cleaners, but they don't clean here every day. The dustbins get full and are not enough for the waste accumulated here.
Na any seconds masese fin do so sene bola de no mo dia bisia no
bola ne de affect because
the rubbish affects us. The dustbins always get full and we are not able to close them. They begin to smell.
While traders do not only struggle with plastic waste, but fecal waste as well. As you can see behind me, there is a broken gutter.
The place smells badly. There are a lot of houseflies because of the gutter. We always have to wear nose masks. And we can't even eat here. Customers don't buy from us because of the smell.
I'm currently at Bombay, close to the WAEC office, and this is the filth I met here. This could cause serious health concerns on locals in Kumasi, as it is a prevalent issue.
Maybe if you are in your workplace and someone come and tell you Bombay gutter is not good, this and this, you will not believe it. But as far as you are here, you see how dirty it is. And most especially, people are dumping rubbish over here, urinating here, doing toilets here.
The KMA says they try their possible best to clean at least 90% of the filth every single day.
The Greater Kumasi generates about 2,000 tons of waste every day.
2,000 tons of waste.
2,000 tons of waste. Let me paint the picture very well. The huge refuse trucks, we call the compactor trucks, has a maximum 10-12 tons. So 10 of those trucks will be 100. And 100 of those trucks will be 1,000 tons.
The traders and residents' plea for immediate action underscores the urgency of the situation. They demand swift measures to resolve the growing filth in Kumasi. My name is Irabna Akwe, reporting for JoyNews, Kumasi.
All right, next, the Coalition of Concerned Teachers is rejecting what it calls an unfair directive by the Director General of the Ghana Education Service to halt the recruitment of fresh teachers. The director, reportedly in line with a broader government order from the president, has sparked backlash. Now, speaking on Top Story, the Vice President of the Coalition of Concerned Teachers, Adokwe Aikwe Awole, argued that previous recruitments under the SWAL MPP administration should not be politicized, especially when the education sector is in dire need of more teachers.
We all in this country, we will use diplomacy. It is a new government. We will ensure that the right thing is done. But if we are at our wit's ends, everybody will hear of it. Definitely. And we know they might take certain actions or inactions that will not be in the best interest of Ghanaians, especially when it comes to the education sector. And it may be because maybe they've not settled down yet. We have a new Director General. He's not been in the education sector. He's not settled. So we are going through the back door. We are talking, and we hope they will listen. But those vacancies that were filled were in the right direction. They should have been filled because there was the need for teachers to teach those pupils, those students. So they were employed to fill those vacancies. They have not been employed just to come and add up to those teachers who were already there. They were working. So at the end of the day, are they going to be paid for the 4 months that they've worked?
Well, meanwhile, public interest advocate Roslyn Imoro-Ayana is defending the government's decision to terminate the employment of individuals hired after the December 7 elections, describing it as justified.
Looking at the situation and the historical nature that we have when it comes to government change, I don't think that it's unjustifiable, so to speak, because at the end of the day, you ask yourself why a government that was leaving should want to pad agencies with people when it had 8 years to do so and didn't do so. Afenyo Markings and the rest of them are saying that it is not a constitutional thing to do so, that one had to use discretionary powers justifiably, and all that. But I am of the view that if you're a government in power for 8 years, you've not been able to create enabling environment for people to get jobs, you've not created the jobs yourself for them to also get into. All that you've done is virtually padding security agencies, creating avenues that did not produce anything, so to speak. Then one starts to ask why you would want to pad when you're leaving, bearing in mind that the situation on the ground is that we don't have the resources, we are broke, and how can a broke country take in so many people? From what I was hearing from the government spokesperson, Felix Ofosufachi, he came out with certain issues that some of them did not even apply. They didn't have any application letters. Some didn't go through the process. Some of them were backdated. These are all acts of criminality.
You're watching the JoyNews room. Our government says it is working to address challenges in the education sector with the National Education Forum. Esther Nkrumah visited the Accra Technical University, where she spoke with students who shared the reforms they want to see in the sector.
The National Education Forum kick-started on Tuesday, 18 February, with key stakeholders in the sector to discuss reforms in the education sector. We're here today at the Accra Technical University to interact with some students to share their view on some of the changes they would like to see in the education sector. Hi guys.
Hello.
So I have here with me Francis.
Yes.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
As a student, what are some of the changes you're looking out to see in the education sector?
I'm looking forward to see reform issues that address inadequate infrastructure, outdated curriculum, and insufficient resource. But especially, I would look forward to see improvement in the quality education, especially in the rural areas.
Okay. So I'll come to you, Fafa. As a student, what reforms do you want to see?
All right, so just like my colleague said, he spoke about infrastructure. So we are looking forward to the government helping the various schools to build infrastructures to help with the students, so that students don't get admission, come to school, and then they probably do not have classrooms to sit. We encourage the government to do their possible best so that they will be able to provide classroom facilities and even some computers that will be needed, because as a technical school we do technicals, so we want the government, whilst he's helping other schools, he should also look at us as well, the fashion department, so that if they can give us some sewing machines, and even with the engineering department, the building department, we just want them to focus in education to make sure that all the necessary facilities that we need to have a good education, we have it.
So Caleb, what would you also want to see?
Oh, I would like to see like a modification in the curriculum, because you see, I think right now the job opportunities in the market has really changed, and there have been a lot of dynamics there. So I think maybe if the curriculum is being modified a bit, it's going to help suit what we students are being pursued in the university. So if maybe I'm a medical laboratory student, I'm done with medical laboratory, and there are less hospitals around, where am I going to work? So if maybe other courses too can be introduced, that is going to help me that I'm a medical laboratory student, but also want to pursue, let's say, trading in farming or other activities too. Then if the med lab doesn't work, then I will look the other way around.
Okay, so modification of the curriculum, and you also want improvement in infrastructure. One of the key issues that would also be looked at in the education forum is the issue of the free SHS policy. So we have people that say that let the free SHS policy be scrapped off completely. We also have a school of thought that argues that if I have my own money, let me pay for my children and let the free SHS policy cater for the less privileged. I'll start with you again, Caleb. In your own opinion, do you want the government to maintain the free SHS policy the way it is, or you want a review in the free SHS policy?
I want the free SHS policy to be reviewed. Yeah. In a way that there have to be a set standard for the grading systems, which is the basic education exams. Maybe there just to be a cutoff point of I grade maybe 20 or 22, so that the free SHS won't be available to every student. Someone will be getting a grade 40 and will be given access to the free SHS. It shouldn't be that way.
Yeah, as my colleague said, the free SHS should be reviewed. It should be in the form of scholarship. Those who are brilliant but needy could enjoy the free SHS, but those who can afford to pay their fee should pay.
Well, I believe that the free SHS is a good policy, and I would want the new government to continue with it. Those who feel they have their money should go to private secondary schools, because we have private secondary schools.
Another promise that the president made during his campaign was that he was going to cover tuition for first-year students in the university. With Ghana's current economic situation, do you think this is what we need to provide access to quality higher education for students? I'll start with you, Mabel.
We don't need that for now. So after paying their first year tuition, what next? Second year, what happens to them? Will they drop out? Or do they have to go and look for their own ways and then come and pay their fees? So I think there should be other things to work on, not paying their first year fees.
What are some of the other things you think they should work on?
You should work on jobs. After school, most of the graduates are home doing nothing, self-employed, which is not a bad thing. But I believe if they channel their energies into the job sectors, now we know there are no space for government workers. That's what we've been hearing. Yeah. But I think if you should invest into that aspect, after school you have a work to do, not just going to school and come and stay home.
Okay, so we've been interacting with students from the Accra Technical University, and they've shared their views on some of the key reforms they are looking out to see in the education sector. From the Accra Technical University here in Accra, my name is Esther A.C. Nkrumah.
Welcome back. We have time for one business story. The UK-Ghana Chamber of Commerce is urging the government to take steps to boost the city's performance. Here's more in this report.
There were challenges with clearing of goods at the ports, and so we did at the time engage with the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority as well as Ghana Customs. But I must say that in 2024 we did get a lot of positive reviews about how all things were working.
Right, so now let's move straight to the exchange rate. It's been of a great concern to even the normal ordinary Ghanaian. Somewhere last year, Bank of Ghana injected some amount into the economy, and we saw some form of stability. And now it's hovering around 15 thereabout. That is to the dollar. To what extent is it affecting member companies, and also, let me just stick to member companies for now.
So of course, if there's instability in the exchange rate, it affects all businesses because we are quite heavily dependent upon imports. And so for a few months now, I think we've seen some stability, which is good because business thrives in an environment of consistency where they can easily plan, and implement whatever strategies they have for their business. But when there's instability, it also destabilizes business operations. So yes, I mean, last year at some point we saw the city falling, and it was 16, yes, and therefore that was great concern. But I must say that things stabilize, so that's a good thing.
So actually, that was Juba Chiama, who is Executive Director of the UK-Ghana Chamber of Commerce. One more story before we go. The Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Simon Maggi, has underscored the importance of improving the ease of doing business in Ghana through digitized platforms. According to Mr. Maggi, the government will soon implement measures to issue work permits to investors within 24 hours. He made the announcement at the Ghana Economic Outlook 2024 program organized by the Ghanaian German Economic Association in Accra. The Ghana Economic Outlook 2025 was held under the theme Consolidating Macroeconomic Stability and Economic Rebound in an Election Year. According to Chief Executive of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Simon Maggi, the government is working to improve the ease of doing business.
The GIPC, before we go out to market Ghana, we must also look within what are our processes looking like. So I have sat down with the team and I have tasked them that would it not be possible for us to process work permits and all those quotas within 24 hours? Why would we have to keep an investor waiting for 5 days or a week to process some of these things? With technology, we'll be able to do that.
Presidential advisor on the economy, Seth Tekwe, emphasized the need for tax rationalization.
If we rationalize the tax regime, if we have difficulties, we introduce two taxes anytime we did austerity: National Fiscal Stabilization Levy or Fiscal Stabilization Levy, right? And then we had the temporary import duty. And anytime we went out of an austerity program with the fund, we removed them. So we were keeping them. What was the reason for most of the levies that we are keeping?
Economist Professor Godfrey Bokping highlighted the impact of re-entering the bond market.
So now we are operating the short end of the yield curve. That is not sustainable. But then how do we extend that, reopen the bond market? I seriously think that before we think about going to the international capital market, let's get our domestic markets functioning, right? Because this is what we preside over. And let's build confidence in our market. So I think it's a step in the right direction.
Acting Executive Secretary of the Ghanaian German Economic Association, Hilary Saki Koji, underscored the significance of the conference.
For us, this is a major event, and it's a first event for the year
where we bring our CEOs and captains of industry together to have a look into the year. How does the year look for us, especially coming out of an election and there's a change in leadership of the country or the governance? Definitely there are going to be changes. How does that portend for the private sector, and how are we going to cope? What are we supposed to be looking out to for the year 2025? And so basically it's to help and guide our CEOs and our members to plan or to add on to planning into
that story. And in the Joy News room, thanks for watching, everyone. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com, myjoyonline.com for the day's latest stories. My name is Darryl Kwao. Goodbye.